All right, let's move on. Okay, so first of all, you may be asking, what are application questions? Okay, application questions are one of the most challenging questions in PSLE Science. Okay, I'll be conducting another session on experiments, how to answer experiment questions, how to answer graph question, how to answer comparing question. But based on my observation, application question is one of the most challenging. Okay, why? Because it requires students to observe. It requires you to observe and analyze the context or situation that may arise in day-to-day situation. Okay, so they will give you maybe a situation or a picture of day-to-day situation, and this day-to-day situation could be something that you are familiar with and could also be something that you are not familiar with. Okay, so you need to analyze, and they do not give you any data, any tables, any graph. So you need to analyze, and you must be able to explain using scientific concepts. All right, so that is the challenge for many students. You are not able to link the situation or the context or the situation given to you to the right topic and right concepts and be able to explain fully. Okay, later I'll show you some of the examples of past PSLE question on application questions. All right, so these are some of the application question. All right, this is 2018. Very interesting question. Yesterday, those of you at my Choa class, I brought up this question a little bit. This was 2018 PSA, just last year. So if you have elder brother or sister, you can ask them how they respond to this question. Okay, unripe bananas are green and contains chlorophyll. Banana curve upwards while growing. Suggest a reason why banana grow upwards. Interesting, right? It's a 1-mark question. Okay, let's hear. How should you respond? Anyone? You can type in the chat function. What do you think is the answer? Why do banana grow upwards? Like usually fruits grow downwards, right? Because of gravity, it will pull the fruits downwards, but banana grow upwards and it is curved. What's the reason? Okay, anyone? You can just type into the chat function. Quite interesting, right? And this was last year PSLE question. Anyone wants to try? Banana grow upwards because they need to trap sunlight to make food. Okay, Ikram say, why do they need, how do you know that they trap sunlight? What are the keywords? So you can see the keywords here. Bananas are green and contains chlorophyll. Okay, so this gives you a clue of how to answer this question. Right, now without this clue, without you observing this clue, you may not be able to answer or respond accurately. Okay, all right. So I will move on to the other questions. Later on, I will come back to this question. Okay, so this is another question. Last year PSLE question. Again, last year, a worker used a truck to deliver blocks of ice. A mist was seen when the ice was taken out of the truck as shown below. So there's the mist. You can see white mist, thick plastic strips, and the truck and ice. So the question asks, explain how the mist was formed. It's a 2-mark question. Explain how the mist was formed. Part B, the mist disappeared after some time. Explain why. And C, thick plastic strips were hung at the door to prevent the ice inside the truck from melting. Explain why. Okay, so this is another example of application question. All right, next one. This is last year PSLE also. Seng Huat connected his phone to the electrical supply with a wire. The plug of the wire fitted the phone properly. Part A, they ask, the wire is covered with rubber. State the property of rubber that makes it safe for its use. Okay, this one is quite simple, right? We know that the property of rubber is an insulator of electricity. Okay, and let's take a look at part B. Oh, sorry. Oh, there's another part I missed. Never mind, later I'll show you another part. Okay, this is another question. All right, a metal lid was fitted tightly into an empty glass jar. Mary placed the lid in hot water. After a while, she found it easier to remove the lid. Explain why. Okay, So we will attempt this question. It seems easy, but it is not as simple as many of you may think. Okay, so quite an interesting question. Okay, Ivana said the lid expanded. However, if you look carefully, the jar, glass jar is also in the hot water, right? So will the glass jar also expand? Right, so both the glass jar and the metal lid will expand, right? Then if both expand, will it be easier to remove the lid? Okay, so we will answer that later on very shortly. Okay, let's take a look at another example. This is another application question. Wen Hao went for a swim. When he came out of the water, he felt cold. At that moment, a strong wind blew and he felt even colder. Explain why he felt even colder when a strong wind blew. Okay, so this was one of the past PSLE question, I think probably about 2-3 years ago. Okay. All right. This is another example, another application question. The diagram shows how a platform can move a man on a wheelchair up or down the stairs. The platform uses electrical energy to move. Explain why the platform uses more electrical energy when it moves the man up the stairs than when it moves him down the stairs. Okay, so again, keyword here, explain. You must be able to explain or write your answer, state your answer using scientific concept, right? Remember, this is a science exam, you need to state scientific concepts. It is not English comprehension question. So the examiner wants to see your understanding, how you explain this question using the scientific concepts that you have learned in your school. Okay? All right. Now, before we start to discuss the answers, I want to share with you some of the techniques or some of the thinking process that I teach students of how to answer application question. Okay, so there are 4 steps that you need to think of. This is, it's a kind of thinking process to make it easier for you to approach the application question. Step number 1, very simple, observe and list the key objects mentioned in the question. So here, many students, when you are trying to do the question very quickly, you tend to miss out important keywords. Right, so it's very important in science exam, especially in application question, you observe every single words that is given because they could be clues, and list the key objects mentioned in the question. What are the key objects mentioned? All right, so step number 2, recall and identify the science topic being tested. What science topic, okay, that they are testing you? Because in the PSLE, please remember, they will not test you anything beyond your syllabus. Okay, they will not test you anything beyond your syllabus. It will be, in PSLE, it will be either from any topic from P3 to P6 topics. Okay, it could be any of the P3 to P6 topics. Right? It could be a topic that you have learned in Primary 4, Primary 5. Okay, but it will never be anything that is beyond your syllabus. Please remember that. Right. Step number 3, after you identify the topic, next you need to identify what is the relevant science concepts being tested. So this is sometimes not that easy, especially if you are not familiar or you are not able to recall the scientific concepts available. Example, let's say in the topic of water. There's so many concepts in the topic of water. Is it about evaporation, condensation, melting, freezing? Okay, so some students may interchange, may get confused between, say, condensation and evaporation, for example. Which loses heat, which gains heat. Okay, so you must be, your scientific concept must be at your fingertips. All right. Okay. Then step number 4. This is the difficult part. After you have identified the topics, after you identify the science concepts, next you need to be able to explain. Okay, explain the phenomenon or the situation in the question to the scientific concepts. Okay, so you should provide a link. Scientific concepts explaining the situation. Okay, so many students, they do not write or elaborate using scientific concepts. Okay, so when you do not have any scientific concepts, definitely you will not get the marks, 0 marks. Okay, so we will do together. We will answer the questions that that we see just now. Okay. All right, let's take a look at question number 1. First question, using the 4 steps approach that I teach you just now, Okay, so unlike banana are green and contains chlorophyll, so you can see the keyword here, chlorophyll, chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, okay, green, right? Green, you know chlorophyll green. And we know that chlorophyll traps sunlight, right? Okay, and in other words, another important point is that it is growing upwards. Okay, the banana is growing upwards, right? Which is against the gravity. Usually, fruits will grow downwards. Everything will go down, right? Because of gravity. But banana is very strange. They will grow upwards. So why? What is the reason? Suggest a reason. Okay, so step number 2, recall and identify the science topic being tested. So we know under the topic of photosynthesis. Right? So you should be able to recall what is photosynthesis, what is required for photosynthesis. You know light is needed, right? You know water is needed, and you know the gas, carbon dioxide is needed for the plants to make food. Okay. Now some of you may be confused, right? We know that photosynthesis usually takes place at the leaves. But here, why is it that chlorophyll is contained in the banana? But doesn't matter if you do not know about this. Now they are telling you that chlorophyll is in banana. So don't worry about that. So just remember that what is the function of chlorophyll. Okay. So after we identify the topic, let's identify the science concepts. Okay. So the science concepts being tested, we know that what is the function of chlorophyll? Okay. The chlorophyll is to trap sunlight so that the plant can photosynthesize in the presence of water and carbon dioxide. Okay, so the purpose of chlorophyll is to trap sunlight. Okay, is to trap sunlight. So remember, where is the sun? Where is the light coming from? From the top, right? From the sun. So that is why it is moving upwards. It is growing upwards to reach out for the light. So how should you explain? Banana grow upwards so that the chlorophyll is better able to trap sunlight to help the plant in photosynthesis. Okay, so because it is growing upwards, it can reach out to the sun better, to the sunlight better. Okay. All right, Ivana, thank you very much for reminding. Okay, those of you who just came in, just a gentle reminder, please refrain from chatting so that you will not distract anybody. Yeah. So if you have any question, just take note on a piece of paper. Later, you have the Q&A questions part section in the last 15 minutes. Okay. All right. Okay. Next question. Okay. Let's take a look at this question. A worker used a truck to deliver blocks of ice. A mist was seen when the ice was taken out of the truck as shown below. Now let's recall, what are mists? Is mist a gas or is it a liquid? Okay, is mist a gas or liquid? Gas? Okay, Ivana say that mist is a gas. Ikram say if it is a liquid. Ain say it's a liquid. Irshad say liquid. Okay, so this is a common misconception. Because mist seems very cloudy and very smoky. So many students tend to think that mist is gas. But actually, mists are tiny water droplets. Okay, mists are, please remember this, mists are tiny water droplets, just like clouds. Right? Clouds are not in a gas state, they are in liquid state. Clouds are tiny water droplets. Okay, so you need to know this so that you are able to explain using the right concepts later on. Okay, so after that, you see thick plastic strips, ice, right? Now, water vapor, Haider asks, why is it not water vapor? Now, water vapor is a gas, and water vapor, you cannot see water vapor. Likewise, for steam, you cannot see steam. Right? Water vapor and steam, they are in gas state. But the mist that you can see, this is not gas. This is tiny water droplets. All right, so this is a common misconception. All right, Joshua, very good. Okay, you can't see gas, correct. Okay, let's continue. Let's recall what topic is being tested here. So the topic here is condensation and evaporation, right? Because they ask you explain how the mist was formed. So explain how the water droplets are formed, right? Water droplets are formed due to condensation, right? Of course, you need to understand Okay, you need to understand what is the you need to be able to understand what is condensation, right? The change of state from one state to another state. Okay, ignore this step 3, because copy and paste error. Okay, ignore this part. Okay, just focus on step number 4. Okay, explain the scientific phenomenon by linking the science concept back to the question. Okay, so let's take a look at the question. The question asks, explain how the mist was formed. So how these tiny water droplets are formed? Okay, so we know that the water vapor in the warmer surrounding air, right? So this warmer surrounding air contains water vapor, and when you open the door, right, because of the ice inside the truck, the air around the ice will be cooler than the air outside. Okay, so when there is a warm air and a cold air, so you can see there's a difference in temperature. So when there's a difference in temperature, there will be a heat transfer. Right? Remember, what is the property of heat? Heat transfer from region of higher temperature to region of lower temperature. Okay, so the water vapor in the warmer air, right, warmer surrounding air, comes in contact with the cooler air nearer to the ice, loses heat, and condense to form tiny water droplets, okay, which is called the mist. Okay, I know you're a bit confused. Okay, I'm going to explain again, very, very slowly. Okay, so when the truck driver opened the truck door, right, open the door of the truck, so inside is cold, right? So the air around, just like imagine you have refrigerator at home, right? You open the refrigerator, the freezer component, right? You can see cold air coming out, correct? Cold air, and it's very cold, but the surrounding air, the surrounding air is warm. So when there's a warm air meeting with the cold air, so what will happen? There will be a heat transfer. Okay, heat will transfer. So, and remember, heat transfer from region of higher temperature to a lower temperature. Okay, Alicia says smoke come out. That smoke is actually mist. Okay, so that is due to this condensation. This part here, this smoke that you mentioned about, that is the mist. Okay, so the question here, how does the mist or the smoke came about? Right, so remember the warm surrounding air contains water vapor, right? So when you open the door of the truck, the cooler air that comes out, so when you have warm air and the cold air meeting, there will be transfer of heat. So the heat transfer from the warmer air to the cooler air. So the water vapor in the warmer air will lose it to the cooler air, right? So what happens when the water vapor loses it? It will condense to form tiny water droplets. Okay, so this is how I will write it down. Explain how the mist was formed. The water vapor in the warmer surrounding air comes in contact with the cooler air nearer to the ice, loses heat, that means the water vapor here loses heat, and condense to form tiny water droplets. Okay, understand? Not easy, huh? I know it's not easy. It's a 2-mark question. Okay, it's a 2-mark question. Shan, are you okay? Too loud, is it? Maybe you lower down your volume. Okay. All right. Now let's continue with the second part B. The mist disappear after a short while. Explain why. This is a 1-mark question. All right. You know, mist is tiny water droplets. So what happened when the tiny water droplets, the mist suddenly disappear? What is the reason? So because of the process of evaporation. So why does it evaporate? Because it gain heat from the surrounding air and evaporate to form water vapor. So water vapor in the gas state, it disappears. Okay? Yes, very tricky. It's not that easy. Part C. Part C also is a 1-mark question. Thick plastic strip were hung at the door. Okay, it was hung at the door. You can see, sorry. Okay, it was hung at the door to prevent the ice inside the truck from melting. Why? Okay, why they put the thick plastic strip? Right? Why does it prevent the ice from melting? How? So we need to know that air is a plastic is here. plastic is a poor conductor of heat. Okay, so we know that plastic is a poor conductor of heat. So it prevents the ice in the truck from gaining heat. From where? From the warmer surrounding air outside the truck. Right? Because when you have ice inside the truck and outside is warmer, so there will be heat transfer. Heat transfer from where? Heat transfer from a region of high temperature to cooler temperature, right? So the ice will tend to gain heat, okay, if you open this up, right? However, when you have the plastic strip, and since plastic strip is a poor conductor of heat, so it will not allow the heat to be transferred to the ice quickly. So the ice will be able to remain unmelted or frozen for a longer period of time. Okay, so you can see it's not that easy, huh? All right, okay, let's move on. So if you have any question, class, please take note and write it down, and later we will discuss it during the Q&A session. Okay, all right, let's move on to the next question. Okay, this is a very interesting question. Okay, this is easy, right? Last year's PSLE, Sing Huat connected his phone to the electricity supply with a wire. The plug of the wire fitted the phone properly. Okay, the plug fitted to the phone properly. All of you have handphones, right? And you have charged, you know how handphones are charged and so on. So the wire is covered with rubber, still a proper rubber that makes it safe for disuse. Now we know that this electrical supply, right? Electrical supply is very dangerous, right? If you touch electricity, you get electrocuted. So what is the purpose of rubber? And we know that rubber is an insulator of electricity, meaning that it does not allow electricity to pass through rubber. So that is the answer for part A. Very, very simple. Okay. Now the challenge is part B. Okay. Now this is part A. Now take note part B. It's a very interesting question. Okay. All of you take note part B. Can all of you see? Sorry, the question is small. Okay. I'll read for you. This is part B. It's a continuation from the question just now. Sing Huat held the phone by the wire. The phone did not drop immediately in diagram 2. Explain why the phone did not drop off. So you can see diagram 2 and diagram 3. He was holding it with the charger plug, and then it did not drop off immediately. After a while, then it dropped off in diagram 3. So the question asks, explain why the phone did not drop off. Okay, this was last year PSLE question. Why? Gravitational force, friction of the cable. Okay, Ikram says friction opposes motion. There was friction. Okay, gravity. So if you explain gravity alone, gravity causes the phone to fall off, right? But here, the problem is here, the question here, they say that the phone did not drop off immediately. So that part you need to address. How come it did not drop off immediately? Why does it take a while before it dropped off? So this is the tricky part. Right? So it is not only about gravity or gravitational force. Okay, there is something else. Another concept that is relevant here. Okay, so Ivana say the gravitational potential energy. Okay, please don't confuse gravitational force and gravitational potential energy. I've already mentioned many times in my class. All right, gravitational potential energy is totally another topic. There is another topic itself, another topic of energy. But here we are talking about gravitational force or gravity, which is the pull of the earth. The earth pulls object towards the ground. Okay, that is gravity or gravitational force. Gravitational potential energy is something else. That's stored energy. Okay, so both are different. Yes, Ikram, correct. Both are different. Okay, you have not learned forces. Okay, no problem. We are going to learn forces in these few weeks. All right. Okay, so let's discuss. So step number 1, observe and list the key objects mentioned in the question. So what do you observe? You can see that the phone did not drop off immediately. Right? By right, it is supposed to drop off immediately, but the question asks why it did not drop off immediately. So it is not only about gravity. Okay? And then the next one, you see that there's a plug attached to the phone. You can see here, there's a plug attached to the phone. Okay? So let's recall, what topic is that? Okay, the topic is on forces, gravity or gravitational force and frictional force. Okay, gravitational force and frictional force. Now, what is the science concept being tested? Friction. What is friction? Right? Friction is a force that opposes motion between two surfaces. We have two surfaces, right? When one is going this way, one going the opposite direction, so there is a friction, right? Friction that opposes the motion. So gravity, what is the gravity? A force that pulls objects towards Earth. Okay, so we have we have learned about these two concepts. Okay, then step number 4. After you have understand the science concept, then you need to answer, why is it that the phone did not drop off immediately? The answer lies in this part here. Okay, so there was frictional force. All right, there's a frictional force between the plug and the phone socket. Now, what does the frictional force do? It is acting in opposite direction. Right, the phone is the gravitational force is downwards, right, going towards the Earth, but frictional force is in the opposite direction. Remember, friction opposes motion. So friction is going upwards, but friction, gravity is going downwards. All right. Okay. So what happened here is that the frictional force between the plug and the phone socket acting on opposite direction prevents the phone from dropping off immediately. Right? So because of the friction. Now after some time, it dropped off. Why? Because the gravity is able to overcome the frictional force. That is the second part. Okay, why opposite? Okay, very good question. Friction is the definition of friction. Friction is always the opposite of motion. All right, when we are moving forward, the friction is pushing you the opposite direction. Okay, it is in the opposite direction. Okay, part 2. The phone dropped to the ground after a few seconds, as shown in diagram 3. Explain in terms of forces why the phone dropped. So some of you may think that because of gravity or gravitational force. Not enough. So because why? Part 2 class, remember, listen carefully. Part 2 is linked with part 1. Right? Part 2 is linked to part 1 here. So they mentioned here in part 1 is about frictional force, right? That prevents the phone from dropping off immediately. Then part 2, they ask you, why does the phone drop off eventually? So you need to explain that the gravitational force acting on the phone was able to overcome the frictional force which was acting in opposite direction at the plug, causing the phone to drop. Okay, so the gravitational force now acting on the phone was able to overcome the frictional force, okay, which was acting in opposite direction. Now, if the frictional force is strong, right, if we have a great frictional force, the phone will not drop off. But why it dropped off? Because the gravitational force or the gravity was able to overcome the frictional force that was acting in opposite direction. So that's why the phone dropped off. Okay, so this is about relative force. One is going downwards, the other one is going upwards. So which one is stronger? Okay, understand, class? Okay, Alicia asked, Mr. Yang, is there always part 2 linked to part 1? Yeah, a lot of questions. In fact, open-ended question. There are part A, part B, part C, and usually the parts are linked. Okay, always assume that the parts are linked. If you have part A and part B, part C, to answer part C, you have to look what happened in part A and part B. Sometimes they give you an experiment, they give you a data, you need to look. So the clue to answer the last part is always in the earlier part. Okay, so must take note. It will not be independent. It will not be, part A is nothing to do with part B. If not, they will not put part A and part B. Okay? It overheats? Oh, Joshua, no, nothing to do with heating here. Alright, now let's move on to the next question. Okay? So again, if you have any question, class, regarding this, please take note. I will address it during the Q&A in the last 15 minutes. Okay? Okay, let's move on to the next question. Don't worry, class, I'm recording this. Okay, later on, I will upload to YouTube and I will email to your parents. So if you cannot catch, you don't understand, you can always review this video again. Okay, or when you see me in class, you can always clarify with me again. Okay? Now let's take a look at this question. Now this is about heat. Yes, it's a 1 hour video, Joshua. Okay, a metal lid was fitted tightly into an empty glass jar Mary placed the lid in hot water, right? So you notice here, she put everything in the hot water. After a while, she found it easier to remove the lid. Explain why. Now, many students tend to explain saying that, oh, the metal lid gained heat and expanded. But remember, take note here, you observe here carefully, the glass jar was also inside the hot water, right? The glass jar, so this is the tricky part. That's why I say you need to observe, right? Part 1, step number 1, you need to observe at least the key objects mentioned. So it was an empty jar made of glass, and then the metal lid, which is a good conductor of heat. So both the metal lid and part of the glass jar was in the hot water. Okay, so recall this is a topic on heat. Okay, very simple. I think all of you know that this is a topic of heat. And what concept in the topic of heat? About expansion. Why do matter expand? Because it gains heat, right? When matter gains heat, it will expand. Doesn't matter whether it's solid, liquid, or gas. Solid will gain heat and expand. When it's heated, gas will also gain heat and expand, and liquid will also gain heat and expand. Okay, so this is a scientific concept that you have learned in primary 4. Okay, so identify the concept. So metal, solid, gain heat and expanded when heated. And we also know that metal is a very good conductor of heat, and it's a better conductor of heat than glass. So metal will expand more than glass. Okay, so this is the tricky part here. So how should you answer here? So it's not enough by saying that, oh, the metal lid gain heat and expand. No, not enough, because the glass will expand. But this is about relative expansion. Who expands more? Is it the glass expand more or the metal expand more? Okay, so obviously we know that as metal is a better conductor of heat than glass, the metal lid will gain heat and expand more than the glass jar. Hence, easier to remove the metal lid. Alright, both will expand. Please take note. Both will expand, but the metal lid will expand more. Okay, easy? So this is a bit tricky. I think not many students will take note of this relative expansion. Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Glass can expand. Yes. Solid, liquid, and gas all can expand. But which one will expand more? Some materials expand more than other materials, right? Okay. Now let's take a look at this question. Wen Hao went for a swim. When he came out of the water, he felt cold. Okay, all of you have been to for a swim, right? Either in the swimming pool or in the sea. Okay, so when we come out from the swimming pool, we shiver, right? We feel cold. So this is how exactly Wen Hao felt when he came out from the swimming pool or from the water. He felt very cold. He was shivering, right? Okay, and then after that, the second part here, at that moment, the strong wind blew and he felt even colder. I think all of us have experienced that also, correct or not? We want to have a towel or go indoor so that we can wipe the wet droplets of water. Okay, so the question is a 2-mark question. Explain why he felt even colder when a strong wind blew. Okay, explain why he felt colder when a strong wind blew. So what topic is this? This is under evaporation. So the question here is that why he felt colder, why he. So you need to explain in terms of why Wen Hao felt cold. Do not explain why the water evaporate, why the wind blew. You need to explain why he felt cold. Okay, fundamentally, why do we feel cold? Okay, now why do we feel cold? Shan, why do we feel cold? Have you felt cold before? Yes, very good, Ikram. We feel cold because our body loses heat. Right? We feel cold because our body loses heat. Right? But why did Wen Hao shiver? Okay, because when he came out from the pool, there were water droplets around his body, right? There were water droplets, and these water droplets was evaporating. It has to evaporate. So let's recall, what is the meaning of evaporation? Evaporation is the change of state from liquid state, right, to a gas state. Okay, evaporation is a change of state from a liquid state to a gas state. For evaporation to occur, what must happen? It must gain heat, right? Water droplets must gain heat. So these water droplets which was on his body, it will gain heat, right? Gain heat from where? From Wen Hao, right? It will gain heat from Wen Hao. So Wen Hao loses heat. His body loses heat to the water droplets that was on his body, which was evaporating. Okay, so Elisha asked, Mr. Can you explain again? Okay, I'll explain again. No worries. Okay, so the question asks why he felt colder. So when he came out, right? When he came out from the pool, there were water droplets around his body. Okay, so what happened to the water droplets? The water droplets will evaporate, correct? So what does the evaporation means? Evaporation is change of state from liquid to gas. When water evaporates, it must gain heat before evaporation can take place, right? So the water which was on his body was evaporating, so it must gain heat to evaporate. So where does the water droplets get the heat from? From his body. So Wen Hao, Wen Hao loses heat. His body loses heat to the water droplets which was on his body, right? Because lots of water, right? That's why when we came out from the pool, we want to quickly wipe off the water from our body. What's the reason? Because when the water evaporates, it will gain heat. From where? From our body. So we will shiver. Okay? And what makes things worse here? When the strong wind blows. Remember, what affects evaporation? What are the factors affecting evaporation? One of the factors is the presence of wind. Correct or not? The presence of wind. So the presence of wind, right, it will increase the rate of evaporation. So when it increases the rate of evaporation, it will gain heat. The water will gain heat even more, right? And it will gain heat from Wen Hao even more. So that's why Wen Hao body will lose even more heat when the cold wind blow. Okay, so I'm sure all of us have this experience before, right? We came out to the swimming pool, and then we shiver, and then when the strong wind blow, we feel even colder. So that's the reason, right? The reason is due to our body losing heat to the water droplets that was evaporating. Okay, understand, class? So you can see that it's not that easy. So eventually you need to be able to answer why Wen Hao feel cold. That's the keyword there. Why he feel cold when the strong wind blow, right? So Wen Hao loses heat to the water on his body, which was evaporating into water vapor. So what happened when there was wind? The wind increases the rate of evaporation, thus making his body lose heat even more quickly. Okay? Because your body is the highest temperature. Now, anybody had high fever before? If you have high fever, very high fever, let's say 41 degrees Celsius, they will quickly take you to the hospital, and the first thing that they will do, the doctor do, okay, so Joshua, you had experience, right? Can you tell me, anybody went to the hospital and they do something to you? Right? If it is very, very high, the first thing the doctor will do is to give you a cold shower. Give you a cold shower. I experienced before when I was in the army. I had high fever, so it wasn't that bad, right? It was still okay, but the doctor told me to take a cold shower every 2 hours. Okay, every 2 hours. Why? Because when our body is hot, right, the cold shower will remove the body from the heat from our body, right? Because cold is very cold, right? The cold water will gain heat from our body, so that's why when we have fever, it's good that we take cold shower. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Next question. All okay? All right. Let's take a look at the next question. The diagram shows a platform. How a platform can move a man on a wheelchair up or down the stairs. Have you seen this setup before? Anyone have seen this before? It is a platform that can move someone on a wheelchair. I've seen this before at the hospital. One of the hospital, I can't remember. Oh, in your condo have, Ivana? Oh, very good. Very friendly for people on wheelchairs. In Japan. Oh, okay. All right. So the question here, the platform uses electrical energy to move. Explain why the platform uses more electrical energy when it moves the man up the stairs than when it moves the man down the stairs. This is a very common question. I can also change the question a little bit. I can ask you, why is it that when we are going up the stairs, we feel more tired, right? It's more difficult to go up the stairs as when we are going down the stairs. All of you go to the canteen, right? If your class is on the 4th floor or the 5th floor, right? When you want to go to the canteen on the ground floor, you can literally fly down, right? But after coming back from recess, You need to go up back to your class. It became very, very tiring, right? Why? Why is it more difficult to go up as compared to going down? Right? So very simple. We learn about gravity and we learn about friction really, right? So what is gravity? Gravity causes objects to be pulled towards Earth. Right? Gravity causes objects to be pulled towards Earth, right? So when we jump, we will come down. Correct? Why? Because of gravity. Okay? So when we are trying to go up, we need to overcome gravity, right? When we are going up, we need to overcome gravity. But when we are going down, we don't have to overcome gravity. We are going towards gravity. So in fact, when we are going down, we just need to overcome maybe frictional force. Okay, so how shall we answer this one mark question? So when going up the stairs, the platform requires more electrical energy to overcome frictional and gravitational force. So to go up, they need to overcome two kinds of forces. Number one, frictional force. Number two, gravitational force. However, when going down, he only has to overcome the frictional force. Okay, when going down, you don't have to overcome gravitational force, only frictional force. Okay, simple, right? So this is a very common question. It's a very common question. Okay. All right. Okay, we are done. Now is exactly 8:45. Well done, everyone. Okay, we have about 15 minutes. Okay, so any questions, class? Any questions? Okay, don't worry, class. We will have more and more session. If next week I will have a session, but it's for your P5 friends. Okay, we have lots of this kind of a session. I will have a session webinar on the topic of maths, on science, all right, to help you further in preparing for your exams and the important PSLE. Yeah? Okay, so in addition to the weekly classes, we will have these webinar sessions. Okay, anybody has questions? Okay. All right, okay, one by one. What is your YouTube channel? Okay, YouTube channel is very simple. You just go YouTube, you just type Edufront Learning Center. Okay, so you can see all our past videos that we have taken for the past 1 to 2 years. Okay, Hanisas, what's the difference between gravitational potential energy and gravitational force? Okay, gravitational force is the gravity that is being exerted by Earth, pulling objects towards it. Okay, but gravitational potential energy, coming from the word potential, is stored energy. So if we are at the ground floor, our GP is 0, gravitational potential energy is 0. As we goes up, right, the GP will increase. So when we are on a cliff, we have gravitational potential energy. All right, so that is totally different concept compared to gravitational force. Gravitational force is the force that is exerted by Earth, pushing objects down towards it. Okay, totally different concept. Okay, what's the difference between gravitational potential? I just went to YouTube. I have a question. Why sometimes when we go down water slide, sometimes we slow, but sometimes we go fast? Oh, that's a very good question. Okay, I've had this experience before. Unfortunately, it's quite a sad experience. Last time I went to a water slide. So I remember when it was going down, so there's a plateau in the middle, and then it will go down again. So somehow when I was going down quick, and then in the middle, I was stuck. Right, I was stuck. Then I had to push myself down, then I will slide down again. Okay, so it's a bit strange. Okay, why I stuck? Because it has to do with friction, right? Remember we learned about friction. Friction exists when things are in motion. So when we are going down, sliding down, right, there's friction acting in opposite direction. Okay, friction will be acting in opposite direction. So if your weight, okay, is heavy, right, so you will not be able to, you'll be able to overcome the friction. Okay, however, if during that part, the plateau, right, we will be stuck there. Okay, because we are not able to go down, right, because your weight is not heavy enough to be able to push you down. Okay. Okay, what's the difference between boiling and evaporation? Okay, boiling. Okay, first of all, you need to differentiate between boiling of what. Okay, boiling of water takes place at 100 degrees Celsius, and boiling of evaporation of water takes place anytime, any temperature above 0 degrees Celsius and below 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, but when you talk about boiling, you need to take note. Now, let's say alcohol, right? It boils at a lower temperature. Right? Different liquids, different substance boiling point is different. Huh? Okay. It's not true. Some of you learn that evaporation can take place at any temperature, so it is not really accurate. Example, can we say that evaporation takes place at 100 degrees Celsius? Cannot, right? Because at 100 degrees Celsius, water has already fully boiled, right? So it's already changed into a gas state. So it's not exactly precise to say that evaporation can take place at any temperature. But you can say that evaporation takes place above 0 degrees Celsius, but under 100 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now, does the rate of too many questions? Please slow down. I cannot see the question. Okay, what is the energy conversion in a ball bouncing? The bouncing ball going up and down. Okay, so energy. Okay, when the ball is going up. Okay, let's say I take an object. Okay, let's say this is a ball. So the ball going up and then down, bouncing, right? Okay, so when the ball is up at a certain height, remember gravitational potential energy exists when object is at a certain level, right? At a height. So when the ball is going down, the gravitational potential energy will be converted into kinetic energy, right? Kinetic energy. So when it touches the ground, now this kinetic energy will be converted also to other forms of energy, example, sound energy, right? So when it bounces up, you notice that it does not bounce up back to the original position. It will bounce up slightly lower. Why? Because the gravitational potential energy has been converted to other forms of energy as well, sound energy, heat energy. So it will go down again and so on and so forth. Okay. Okay. What are the effects of a force? There are many effects of force. Example, a force can change the shape of an object, a force can move an object faster, a force can stop a moving object. Okay, so this is in your book textbook. It's a very straightforward question. You can revise your book. There are about 5 effects of forces. Okay, why do some plants grow up and some go down? Sarah asks, why do some plants go up and some go down? Okay, you need to be specific. Like generally, plants grow upwards, correct or not? Why? Because it has to reach for the sun. Okay, generally the plants go upwards, but perhaps after some time, when it is heavy, then it will start to grow. It will start to go downwards because of gravity. Okay, Sean asks, what frictional force and why when we run, why big people cannot run faster? Sean, this one I'll explain to you when I see it in class. Okay, this one you're mixing so many concepts together. Frictional force, different things. Okay, to make a spring. Okay, Joshua. Okay, any other question, class? Any other question, class? Is the boiling point of water change when 100 meter above the sea level? Okay, the boiling point changes, yes. When you go up a mountain, right, the boiling point will change. Okay, if I'm not wrong, the boiling point actually increases. So it takes a longer time to boil as you go up higher. Okay, but no, don't worry, this is not in the syllabus, okay? Okay, on the skateboard, half pipe, if you start to top down, okay, I don't understand what is half pipe. Okay, are you pushing gravity when climbing staircase mountain? What do you mean by pushing gravity when climbing? Okay, when we are climbing the mountain, we are going against gravity. We don't say that we push gravity. Gravity is the force that brings object towards the earth. So when we are climbing the stairs or mountain, we are going against the gravity. Right? Gravity is going downwards. So when we're going up, we're actually going against gravity. When we're going down, we are going towards gravity. Like when we are cycling, right? I always give example of cycling. When you are cycling down the slope, you don't even need to cycle, right? You only need to balance yourself. Because why? The gravity will pull your bicycle down the slope. However, when you're going up the slope, you're going against gravity. So 2 things you're going against. Number 1, you're going against friction, right? Because you're cycling up. Number 2, you are going against gravity. So that's why it is difficult to ride up the slope as compared to down the slope. Okay. What's the difference between elastic spring force and elastic potential? Okay, elastic potential energy is, okay, elastic potential, I assume that you're referring to elastic potential energy. Elastic potential energy exists, okay, when the spring is either being stretched or being compressed. Okay, when the spring is being compressed, right? When the string is being compressed, you release it, it will bounce up, right? So when the point when we are releasing, so that part, it contains elastic potential and elastic potential energy, right? So when you remove it, it will bounce up. Okay, so when it goes up, okay, that force is elastic spring force. Okay. Okay, Shami said, I love this webinar. Thank you for organizing this. Okay, I'm very happy to organize. Okay, any other question? Maybe I will refer back to the questions that we have discussed just now. Is there any other question related to what we have discussed just now? So do you think if they ask question regarding application question, you're able to answer in your PSLE? Quite interesting, right? I think this question is quite interesting. Like they ask about banana, right? We do not know that chlorophyll exists in fruits also, correct or not? Right? So and then they say banana. Anybody knows that banana is curved? Why banana is curved? Right? Until you see this PSLE question, right? It's quite interesting. Okay. Okay, class. Thank you very much. Okay, I will end the lesson now. Okay, so if you have any further questions and so on, please, I'll see you in class. Then you can ask further. Okay, so I look forward to see you in class as well as in subsequent webinar. Okay, all right. So parents who are tuning in, thank you very much also for facilitating, helping your child. Okay, I will see you one fine day. Okay, all right. Bye bye.